I'm talking about the life and the reformation of Dorothea Dix. Dorothea Dix was born in Hampton, Maine in 1802. Dorothea Dix's father was a traveling preacher, and it is rumored that he was also an alcoholic. Her mother, on the other hand, was chronically depressed, which led Dorothea to take care of her two younger brothers a lot. She didn't live with her parents very long. She ended up moving in with her grandmother at the Dix's mansion. However, before she left, her father did teach her how to read and write, and so this kind of sparked this great interest in learning for her. She took this passion when she was 12 years old and moved to the mansion and started teaching younger girls about ethics and natural sciences. She developed her own curriculum in 1821, dedicated to teaching young girls specifically. This had rich families and poor families being able to learn, since she was charging the rich families and not charging the poor families. In 1831, she opened a secondary school to teach women about being wives and mothers, which is kind of ironic, and I'll tell you why later.
I forgot to say why later. It is ironic because she never got married or had children. She actively avoided it.
This brought a lot of backlash to Dix. A lot of the feminists at the time started criticizing her for not teaching more mathematics and science-based courses versus her dedication to teaching them how to be wives and mothers.
For me, that's my opinion!
At this time, she was also dealing with chronic depression and a pulmonary illness, so she couldn't do it for very long. She ended up writing a lot of books about her curriculum and her views and just education in general. Then her second cousin dropped a bomb on her. He proposed to her. She fled back to the mansion to try to get away from him. Didn't really work out due to her illnesses and the fact that she wasn't doing feminism right, and now this new proposal, she decided to fly to Europe. Hey Siri, when did commercial airlines become a thing? In 1914. So she sailed to Europe. While she was in Europe, two very important things happened to her. One, her grandmother died, which left her a huge inheritance that could have her live off of the rest of her life. The second is that she met with prison reformers there that taught her about what their advocacy was about and how the conditions in jails was not suitable. This then sparked her lifelong advocacy journey for social reform in the mental institutions and jailhouses. While Dix was in Europe, she accepted a position as a schoolhouse teacher in the East Cambridge House of Correction in Massachusetts. She saw a ton of mistreatment there for the mentally ill. People who stayed at the correctional facility for their mental health treatment were in freezing jail cells. They were surrounded by feces. They shared cells with violent inmates, and they were rigorously beaten by guards and threatened not to tell anyone. She tried to change the state of this through the jailhouse owners and the guards, and they didn't really want anything to do with her. So she started talking to politicians. She wrote a memorial about all of the things that she saw while working at the jailhouse and how they were unacceptable. And she kept writing and kept writing and kept writing.
I want to speak to your supervisor. Better yet, I'm gonna write a letter.
And eventually, she got what she wanted, kind of. Her proposition was to open a whole new facility for the mentally ill. But the state of Massachusetts really just gave her a separate extension for the mentally ill, so they wouldn't be housed with the violent criminals. It wasn't exactly what she wanted, but she took it as a win. She then progressed her advocacy across many states for the same types of situations. In the middle of her advocacy endeavors, she ended up being a nurse for the Civil War. There are countless stories of her being just a phenomenal nurse, knowing what she's doing, and trying to train the nurses so then they're better equipped to serve the soldiers coming back from war. She was responsible for appointing 15% of the Union nurses that received the special training. She spent around 40 years of her life dedicated to the advancement of treatment for the mentally ill. She helped with the establishment of 32 mental institutions and numerous schools for people with cognitive disabilities. She helped with the establishment of nursing facilities and continued to do advocacy for the improvements of current jailhouses and mental institutions. She has wrote countless politicians with countless memoirs and has written many books about her journey. Dix was a huge advocate for understanding mental illness, and she promoted the idea that environmental factors had a huge play in it. This means that it's not just biological factors and genetics that affect someone's mental health. It can also be the environment that they're in, which means that the treatment that they were getting in the jailhouses was not going to make them better. It was going to make them worse. She also helped set the standards for what mental institutions should be doing and how they should be treating people and their patients. She also started to help the removal of the stigma of mental illness, as they're just people who need some extra help. Although we still have a problem with this today, it is a lot better, and it started with people like Dix in the 1800s. And that's the story of Dorothea Dix.